CMJ's Epic Quest. 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 CMJ's Epic Quest.
Hey everybody, welcome back to D&J's Epic Quest. This is Justin, and alongside me is
Dren, Derek, and the Dark One.
HC Newell. Bum 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 bum.
I feel like we should have an epic rap battle sometime.
That's y'all don't have the farmers insurance commercials. We are farmers.
Oh yeah, we do.
Bum, 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 bum. That was the song.
Where do you think we live? In the middle of nowhere? We have those commercials here.
George lives in the middle of nowhere. I don't know what commercials he has though. Maybe y'all do.
I know we have those commercials.
You didn't recognize my song.
I knew what you were talking about.
There's Lork.
I don't know who that is. Oh, you have a Funko for Lork?
It's actually not.
Is the one from The Witcher that guy? Whatever his name is?
Yes.
I don't remember what his name is, but
Rolo.
Okay.
I'm just gonna get a cloud thing. That'll just be for fun. It'll be perfect. But no, this is Yaskier, and they only had it at Hot Topic, I think. And I just went to the mall with my sister, and I have not been to the mall in like 20 years. And when I went there, they had like one of these on the shelf, and it was like a Hot Topic exclusive. And I was just like, it looks just like him. Look at how cute. I had to buy him. And he's my favorite thing in the whole world. Look at his little bum. It's so sweet. He's so cute.
I guess that's not where my mind went, but whatever makes you happy.
He's so, I just keep him on the shelf facing away from me.
I'm sure your husband's not jealous at all.
Well, how y'all been? HC, I know you had a live today. I know we talked about how that went, but would you mind sharing with our viewers as well?
Sure. I've been really busy lately. I'm doing my final read through of book 3. I should go to my beta readers tomorrow, so I will be done with the writing part of it. And then I'll get to start working on the collector's edition before it goes to editing. But I did the live today. It was really good. We are doing, a weekly live for the read along. I'm doing a series read along on Discord so that everyone can get through book 1, 2, The Banished, and then 3 when it releases. So it was really good. Everybody had some good questions. We were all talking, and it lasted about like an hour and a half. So it was really fun. I really had fun with this.
What is the purpose of like the beta readers? Because they're not like editors, are they?
No, I mean, my alpha readers are technically beta readers because my book, it's pretty well written already. It doesn't need a lot of work. I don't really have like first, second, third draft. I kind of fix it as I go. So once the book is finished being written, it's done. I never rewrite it. It's done. So beta readers just go in and they read it just like they would if they picked it up from a store. And they just let you know, hey, this doesn't make sense. These words are repetitive. Like this scene doesn't belong here. Just anything, if they were reading it and it kind of caught their eye or something, they just kind of let you know so you can make sure from a reader standpoint that everything is making sense.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's hard to find them because all the ones that I use are volunteers, which a lot of people that sign up, if they're fans of your books and stuff, they want to sign up. They want to be a part of that process. It's just really hard because I had 30 people sign up and 15 of them or 10 of them hadn't even read any of my books. So I couldn't use them.
I remember you mentioning that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's awesome, but I can't use them because it's a series. So you have to understand books 1 and 2. And then I have 15 alpha readers that actually have read the books. They're ready to go, but only 3 of them have even finished it. And 2 more are like halfway through. So by the end, I'll probably only have like 5 people that'll get it finished before the deadline. So it's really hard to find people because they're not getting paid. So they kind of, if they can get to it, they'll get to it sort of thing.
Gotcha.
Which, I mean, you have to understand that going into it. And I knew that. I'm not upset with them or anything. It's just the way it is.
I feel like maybe it might be kind of hard to be, I imagine you have to be kind of critical to tell you, hey, like, this didn't work. Like that type of thing. It could be a challenge, I'm sure.
For the beta reader, it can be. However, I'm pretty open with my beta readers. I mean, you guys have talked to me. I'm pretty open with everybody. So I let them know, please tell me what you think. It is not going to offend me. As long as you're respectful about it, I'm not going to get upset. I need you to pick this apart. And I even leave example comments for the things that I want them to tell me. So it kind of helps them feel a little more comfortable just being honest about it. So I think that really helps. Some authors really can't take criticism. And it is hard sometimes, but that's what I want. I want people to be like, this doesn't make sense. Like, you need to fix that. Because otherwise, I'm never going to.
I'm sure it allows you to learn from it and grow and just improve. So,
yeah, and that's the kind of mindset you have to have, especially in a creative field. I think Justin's falling asleep again.
I'm not falling asleep. I'm listening.
You just look like you're like.
No, I'm listening. The lighting in the room does not make my face look nice.
I think your lighting's fine, honestly.
What?
It looks lighter than when I was there, but
yeah, because it's darker outside.
Yeah, it's not the lighting; it's just your face. Sorry. I think he's done with me. I'm not going to be on this anymore.
What are you talking about? Is it because I missed your live stream? Is that it?
No, because I'm being mean.
Because what?
I'm being mean.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine.
Okay, good. Then I won't apologize.
Okay, cool. Don't.
Awesome.
Nothing to apologize for. I give the shit right back, so it's fine.
But no, the way that I approach any criticism, because sometimes I'll get bad reviews and stuff, and I try to take it from like a reader's perspective. Like, why do they see it like that? Why are they confused by it? Why do they not like this? And sometimes it's just personal. Like I mentioned in my live earlier, someone, when they're reading Curse of the Fallen, they're like, I don't understand why some characters are introduced like Gil, and then they leave and they come back later. That doesn't, it just didn't make sense to me. It felt unnecessary or something. Well, that's just like a personal opinion, so I can't change that. But if they're like, the end didn't make sense, the romance was rushed, the character dialogue was bad, well, those are things that I pay attention to, and I try to like figure out why, so that I can try to like fix those things. Because you can't, that's my approach anyway.
So do these readers get advanced reading copies then?
Yeah, so that's what I offer. If you are an alpha reader or a beta reader, I send you a signed paperback of my book if you complete your read through. Because like I said, most people don't complete it. So I try to do incentives. And then anybody that does read it, I add their names to the book somehow if I can.
Gotcha. Well, maybe it's something that Derek and I can, I don't know, help out with as we catch up.
You'll probably have to do that for book 4 because book 3 is right around the corner.
Yeah, there's no hope on this one on book 3, but Justin, never mind. I'm pretty sure.
What you got to say?
Nothing. I'm not saying anything.
All right.
Yeah.
Secret,
anyway, should I do our? No, you know it. And Justin should too. He maybe just forgot. But I've got fruit flies flying in front of my face here, and I'm trying to catch them and kill them.
Why do you have fruit flies in your closet?
I have no idea. Not a clue. They're just here.
The cat
I'm sure there's jokes you could make about that, I guess, but
Nah, we'll name them Freddy. All of them.
just spelled differently.
Yeah. I was just gonna name the whole collective group just Freddy.
This Freddy.
I like the
Freddy
name.
the fruit fly.
They're all spelled differently. I like that. We'll go with that.
I don't know what you're talking about, so you might have to remind me later.
I mean, all he said was, "Hey,
Ooh.
Justin." Never mind.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
neither one of us know what he's
You're
talking
giving me so much to go off of.
They left it pretty open. Maybe after maybe after you hit the stop button, I will bring it up.
I can always edit.
I will bring it up. No, I'm not gonna bring it up now.
All right.
Because H, you sent us a screenshot of it.
Me?
Yes.
Now I'm scared. What did I do? How did you drag me into this? Huh?
I can't believe neither of you remember.
I'm fucking.
And I'm the one drinking alcohol.
Yeah. Maybe that's why it's helping.
Maybe that's why you're not making any sense.
That's my superpower. Should I do our Silverstone shout out?
Yeah, shout it out.
I will. Silverstone's pretty awesome. I know, I don't remember what day it was, but Kevin put out a tweet. They have a GoFundMe started. They are trying to raise money to find a physical location. So if you're able, maybe even beyond purchasing a book from their website and using our code, if you wanted to donate to their GoFundMe, that'd be pretty cool. I chipped a few dollars towards them today. And then I don't know how long he's going to do this for, if it's going to be throughout the duration of the GoFundMe, but he will give you a code basically for whatever dollar amount you donate. He will give you half off or half of that towards your next order. Check out their website, find a book or two. If you donate, you can get some extra cash off there. So yeah, check them out, help them out. I think it would be cool, Justin, because I think he lives near Omaha, Plattsville, wherever that is. I think it's only like 4 hours from me, so we could definitely make a trip there when they open. I think that would be cool.
That would be really cool.
Kevin, we're putting it out into the universe. Grand opening will be there, putting it into the universe for you.
Yep, we definitely will be there. I think we can commit to that.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Nice little road trip.
Yeah, it's only a few hours, like 3, 4, whatever. Depends how fast we drive. I can't drive 55, so we'll go faster than that.
Okay, that's fair to me. I usually do about 75, 80. So, all right, and on to our lovely patrons. And in order of subscription here, we've got Jan, the Picker of Pies, Luciana Intrigan, Ryan, the Topological, Damien, the Rock of Faces, Nate, Fiddle Me This, Shield Anvil Dylan, and then Quartermaster, Master Sergeant, Lieutenant Parker. So thank you all for your contributions. It definitely does not go unnoticed.
Not at all. It is very much appreciated and just helps us out with a lot of things. So thank you very much.
All right. Well, you all ready to get into Chapter 11 here, A Journey to No End?
I was just saying we had a pretty good amount of banter there beforehand. That was fun.
Yeah, it is always fun. It definitely is fun. We, switch in between serious and banter quite a bit in this show, which is cool. Cool with me.
We have a good time.
Yeah, I think it comes through.
That is the main goal, I believe.
Fun.
Exactly. Chapter 11 here of Curse of the Fallen, titled A Journey to No End. And the epigraph, on this day henceforth there shall be no communion or commerce between Eve and humanity, and an entry into foreign soil will be regarded as an immediate act of war. Treaty of Light, post-Great War. Near lay asleep in the crypt, thrashing and moaning as visions clawed her head. She stood alone on a grassy hill, gazing up at a shadowy figure. Beneath the figure lay a pile of bodies of people she loved. The sword in her hand dripped with blood. The shadow flew from sight, and she was hot in its pursuit. tripping over the bones and blood of the bodies beneath her. Mist rolled in and obscured her vision, bringing the scent of rain. A flash of lightning struck the ground with a thunderous crack, and Nier fell backward. Blood spattered beneath her as she collapsed onto a dense, soft surface. She lost her breath as she crawled to her knees and turned to find Lorik's body lying beneath her. His eyes were cold and unblinking. The shadow whisked through the air like a liquid. Nier sat on her knees in sorrow as the figure hovered before her. A face was hidden beneath its cloak, one she recognized from years past and hoped to never see again. As she crawled to get away, her hand slipped into darkness, and then the ground vanished and she fell beneath the surface. Her heart raced until she finally landed with a hard jolt. She had landed on an iron table with 5 cloaked men surrounding it. She fought against their grips, but to no avail. A cold sweat formed over her skin as the orange light from a hot branding iron emerged through the shadow of cloaks. She panicked and screamed, begged for mercy as the heat drew nearer. Her chest shook as her heart throbbed. Her fear mounted until the scorching fire was pressed against her skin. With a gasp, she woke from her nightmare. Looking over her shoulder, she searched for the shadows of her dream. She was alone and safe. She exhaled a deep sigh of relief. The crypt was quiet, and she quickly realized that she was the only one in there. The barrier to the fire still burned, and Lorik's things lay across the room. She got on her feet and headed outside. She looked past the destruction of the graveyard and found Lorik's blood that stained the steps. Sadness overcame her of the thought of losing him. He came so close, and the journey had just begun. Her thoughts were interrupted as she heard Lorik's loud voice echoing from the hillside. She followed the sounds of his voice until she found him and Cloud standing by a creek. The elf was using his vanishing capabilities to gather and catch fish. As she approached, Lorik lifted his gaze and smiled brightly.
Morning, Neri.
Before she could ask any questions, she was handed a fish. While suppressing a gag, she asked,
"What kind of fish is this?"
Mortified, both her and Lorik watched as green slime slid down Cloud's chin as he devoured the fish. Lorik gagged and threw up bile and the little contents he held in his stomach. Nier turned away, the sound of Cloud mawing down on the fish, and Lorik tossing his cookies was far too much for her to handle.
Cloud, why aren't we cooking this?
How did I do Cloud's voice again?
Like Rolo. Have to, oh gosh, that's like a caveman. Let's see. Hold on, let me try. We don't have time to start a fire, and we can't waste the potion. It's disgusting, but it'll keep us alive. Eat, and then we leave.
Didn't I do it like super deep though?
Yeah, he has a deeper voice. That's as deep as I can go.
We don't have time to start a fire.
Yeah,
That is it.
Potion. Okay.
It's just the accent we had to try to figure out again.
No, that was really good. That was like exactly like last time, Justin.
Yeah, it was good.
We don't have time to start a fire, and we can't waste the potion. It's disgusting, but it'll keep us alive. Eat, and then we can leave. He washed his hands in the stream as they decided whether to eat or starve. They decided against it, and Cloud led them away. They walked for miles in silence. They passed some moss-covered homes and abandoned graves, breaking up the never-ending green that surrounded them. She imagined more Spindra rising from the depths. Crossing her arms to cover the chills that rose across her skin, she turned her attention to Cloud, who led them without a word. She started to wonder why he was out here alone, and if the people of the forest were also banished from entering the borders of Leland, or if it was only humans that had been outlawed. He walked many paces ahead of them, and she didn't have the energy to catch up to ask him questions. Instead, she turned to Lorik, who was scribbling in his notebook.
What are you writing?
Oh, nothing. Just a story or two.
You a scribe now, Ebert.
All good bards know their way around words. What a gifted lot.
I still remember the story that you told me a long time ago about some kitchen wench. What was her name again? Veda? She was a charming little thing, yeah? With blonde hair and dazzling green eyes.
Lorik glared at her and told her to knock it the fucketh off. Lorik told her to keep her head about her and to remember what Gilly had said about thinking before you spoke. Lork lightly tapped her forehead, and she fell into a giggling fit as Lork seethed in anger. As midday arrived, the sun peeked through the parted clouds and provided some fleeting warmth from the dreary wetlands. She inhaled the scent of wet leaves and was startled by the odor of smoke in the air. She suddenly called Cloud's name to get his attention. He came to a quick stop upon hearing his name and then turned around. Far below in the wide valley were the remains of a burned and blackened village. Light gray smoke wisped from the fallen beams and scorched bones that scattered the grounds. Near stood motionless, staring misty-eyed at the village below.
What the hell's happened?
Near was speechless. Her mind was elsewhere as she remembered her village, which was destroyed long ago. She was 10 when the order came, and just like below, took everything.
Who were these people? Why would they be attacked like this?
They were Nix. Cloud explained. He was stiff as he gazed at the village with sorrowful eyes. He turned away and said that they needed to go. Near protested and told him to wait, and that they should do something, as there could be survivors. Cloud said that she could do what she felt was best, but he wasn't here to help them.
How can you be so heartless?
Cloud continued walking without a backward glance. Near couldn't allow these people to suffer and die, yet she couldn't lose her only hope of surviving the trials. She needed Cloud, and without him there was no hope of gaining a cure and freeing herself from the clutches of the Order. Near waited for a cry or a scream for help, anything, but nothing came. Cloud vanished over the hillside, and she had no choice and stepped away from the ruins.
Near, did you notice it?
Near snapped at Lork and asked him what she was supposed to notice.
The symbol of the Order. They were carved into the trees and bodies.
Near's heart raced at the mention of the Order. Was this their way of luring her back to Leyroth, where they'd be free to pursue her without a potential war with the elves? Coming into Vleland was strictly forbidden, as it was elvish territory. If the Nix discovered humans were behind these attacks, it would incite a ruthless war. She clutched her arm, hating to be marked with such a terrible symbol. As night fell, they all camped between a large tree. A barrier was formed to protect them from the winds and the creatures of the night. Lork plucked at his lute and wrote some songs. Near reminisced about Lork and herself when they were younger. Lork asks Near to ask Cloud how much longer this would take. Near translated back to the bard that they should arrive by midday tomorrow. Near continues to translate Lork's questions to Cloud. During Near and the Eve's conversation, Lork's presence gets brought up as the trials are dangerous. They get into a heated debate of sorts until Near reassures Cloud that Lork won't fall behind. Lork is staring wide-eyed at them, could only guess as to what the conversation pertained to. Observing them glare at each other, he thought he could break the tension and dug through the stolen satchel and brought out his ocarina. He asked Cloud if he could play and made a dreadful noise with it. Near took the opportunity to snatch the thing out of his hands before he could play the Song of Storms. Anybody get that reference?
Is that a Zelda thing?
Yeah,
Yes.
it was another thing. Okay.
Okay, I was wondering that.
Cloud got comfortable and closed his eyes, and in time, so did the other two. They lay asleep beneath the safety of the barrier. A loud crash of lightning woke them up. Lork asked when they'd be out of this marshy land, like a kid asking, "Are we there yet?" Cloud put his hands over the flame to warm them up. His skin reflects the light from the fire in a strange way. It was at this moment Near paused to notice his unique appearance. Cloud caught on to Near, fangirling over him, and looked her direction. She looked away, not realizing how lost in her thoughts she had gotten. Embarrassed, she asked where he was from, at first in the common tongue, but then asked in Elvish. Cloud stared into the flames and was silent for a moment. "I don't know what I am. There are other Aeolin like me. We all carry different magical energy, but our appearances are similar. We do not look like the others because we are not like the others." Near wrapped her arms around her knees. She saw that Lork had lost interest in the conversation, as he probably couldn't understand.
Eolin. That's being born without magic, yet still holding its abilities. Wait, it wasn't passed through your blood.
Cloud nodded his head in response. Nier asked him if that's what she could be as well. Her words fell silent as she pondered her existence as a sorceress. Born of darkness and power, at least that's what the Order had her believe.
Cloud, how do you know you weren't born of magical energy?
A sorcerer may only be born from first blood lineage, and every first blood who is born with magic is a full sorcerer.
What's a full sorcerer?
Please, that is enough for now. Cloud was clearly irritated with her ignorance. She folded her arms and leaned against the barrier. Something did grab her attention in the conversation, and that was the first blood. It was an elvish term for the Enclave, who had vanished long ago. They left behind many secrets and mysteries in the tunnels known as Animaril, including the Trials of Blood. Dawn broke, and they never saw it as thick clouds swirled through the sky with heavy rain and strong winds. Nier struggled to push through the cold gusts as she held onto Cloud's arm to keep her footing. Nier held tighter as they trailed down a winding hillside and came to the edge of a deep pond. A fisherman's shack rested along the water's edge. Nier could see the murky soil that sloped inward, becoming black at its center. Cloud stated that this was it. She paid him no mind as she watched him step into the shallow water.
Cloud, what are you doing?
Lork pulls at her arm and tells her that she's absolutely mad. Nier explains that Cloud can't do this by himself. Lork tells her that the elf was deranged, and that all elves were. She watched as Cloud walked further into the pond. The water never rose above his waist as he moved closer to the center. He stopped and gazed at the black hole beneath him. He knelt into the water and pressed against the barrier at his feet. The spear on his back appeared instantly in his hand. He struck the weapon against the barrier. Several minutes passed of him doing this until he fell silent and still. His shoulders fell with a defeated sigh, and he returned to the shore.
What's going on?
We can't enter. The cave has been sealed. Yay! I don't know why I butchered that so much. I think it's just like really late and...
No, I did the same thing, especially with Nier's, because I thought that I was reading Cloud's dialogue, but it was her dialogue. It was confusing me. I was like, wait, is this supposed to be me saying this?
Yeah, see, the dialogue like throws me off when I summarize because I don't know like how to come back to the narration very well. So like,
Oh, no, you did. I think you did great.
It feels like a sticky transition to me, and I'm sure it's just me, but like it just doesn't. I don't know. I guess I don't really talk, like that when I read. But.
No, I think it's good. It's just what she was saying, I thought Cloud said. So that's what confused me. I thought that was his actual dialogue because I don't remember her saying that. But then as I kept reading it and then we kept going, I was like, oh, okay, I guess she did say it. But no, I think the way that you do the transitions from the dialogue to the narration is good.
Gotcha. The only type of writing I know fairly well is like writing scripts, which is why I put the dialogue in the middle instead of on the left-hand side. So, but anyway, the thing that I thought was kind of funny, and this was purely just the way that it came into my head the first time that I read it or when I was summarizing it. And no, it was not any intention from the author, but just out of context, the whole thunderous crack hitting the ground. I know it was supposed to be lightning hitting the ground, but that wasn't the first thing that popped into my head. I just imagined like a giant butt crack. So, yeah. All right. Anyway, moving on.
It wasn't even a giant butt crack. It was a thunderous one.
A thunderous crack.
It was the Grand Canyon of butt cracks.
It's like Thor's crack. Okay.
Right, yeah.
Godly.
Easily say that lightning is the butt crack of the sky,
Okay.
It's kind of how I feel. Sure.
Yeah.
I always see lightning as a butt crack. Duh.
Because.
Am I the one drinking alcohol here tonight, or are you?
No,
I feel like I am.
This is stupid. But
none of your words are making sense to me.
The other thing that I thought was cool was just this whole dream sequence. And I kind of wonder if the face hidden beneath its cloak, a face that she recognized from years past and hoped to never see again. I wonder if this is Bainan.
Bainan.
Bainan. God damn it.
You pronounce everything else right.
I get dyslexic about Bayman and Ryman. See?
To be fair, it is the IE. It's like the same.
Yeah.
What I like to do, like I've said before, is I like for the reader to experience things in a kind of a more natural, organic sort of way, instead of like when you read a book and it tells you their backstory, or they'll just, I don't really know how books work exactly, but there's a lot of info dumps and you kind of learn the background and everything sort of in big sections, you know?
Right.
I like for things to feel a little more organic and for you to experience her memories or her fears or things like that as she would experience them. So this dream sequence could have been a memory. It seems like it was a memory. And so, I mean, that's just like a little tidbit, I guess. I kind of like to do not always dream sequences, just different ways of showing you backstory without just like telling it to you in the exposition.
Well, I thought the dream sequence was a little bit of both. I thought the first half was like her fears, and then the second half was what she experienced when she was branded with the Order of Sorrow.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it was like that. That's kind of obvious. It was a memory sort of nightmare that she had because she does have the branding on her arm. So, but yeah, like I said, I try to just make it to where you're experiencing it with her instead of it just being something that's just kind of explained to you, you know, in the narration. I just feel like that kind of helps. I don't know, you kind of can feel what she feels in a way because you see the darkness of her mind and you see like the nightmares that she goes through. So, like I said, it's just a little tidbit of why I did it like that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it was obviously pretty traumatic for her. Sort of like relive that in a nightmare / memory is just kind of adds another level to it. Like, I mean, she obviously didn't enjoy it. So then to go through it again, I mean, it's kind of just next level.
But there's no hints of foreshadowing.
Everything is foreshadowing in my books.
Okay. So it's a possibility that she may end up killing people she loves. Okay. I mean, that's what I'm assuming was meant by, and again, we don't have to go into it, but that's what I'm assuming was meant by the blood dripping from her sword, is that she was in fact in this dream the perpetrator of killing.
In the dream, yes, that is what it is saying. That could be foreshadowing. It could just be something that she's afraid might happen. It could be just what she's always been told because she's always been told she's a demon. So maybe that's just kind of coming out in a nightmare.
Makes sense. I just thought it was a really cool, like intricate way of humanizing her fears.
I try to just make it as real as I can. Like I said, just want you to experience it instead of being told. So I'm glad that came through.
The other thing that I thought was kind of funny was when, Cloud and Nier and Lork are, well, I guess more so Lork and Nier are having a conversation because Cloud's way the fuck up there, right? And Lork just seems to be so worried about Cloud overhearing his stories. And is this just like what is his hesitation with sharing his stories with Cloud outside of the fact that he's racist towards elves?
This is another read and find out. Just remember that about 99% of the things that happen in my books happen for a reason. So if he doesn't want Cloud to find out, like if he doesn't want him to hear her saying things, there's probably going to be a reason for it.
Gotcha. Okay. I will definitely put a pin in that then.
That was a good question, Justin.
I try not to suck.
Well, you don't, but no, that was a good question.
Now, you guys notice a lot of things, which is awesome, because sometimes whenever people read it, they really don't pick up on little things, and they don't really, because people read fast sometimes, or they just, they don't invest their thoughts into it a lot. Like me, that's kind of how I read. I just sort of read and take it for what it is. But there's a lot of deep meaning behind a lot of stuff, and like I said, everything matters, and a lot of things are foreshadowing. So I'm glad that you guys are like already sort of putting things together and trying to like figure things out, because I wanted to leave a lot of room for theories in my writing.
Awesome. Well, appreciate the vote of confidence there.
I think it's it's just a product of the way we do this. I mean, it's a good way to catch things.
Yeah, for sure. The devil's in the detail. The other thing, I felt really bad for Nier when she's kind of like between going to this town that has clearly been burned, potentially by the Order, that isn't something that they don't know at this particular moment in time. But, it's just, I feel bad because, like, I would want to go help, but at the same time, like, the people I'm with aren't in agreement. And it's just kind of like it was one of those split decision moments where you kind of just make the decision because there are other pressing matters, but you still feel guilty as fuck about it. So I don't know. I guess I could just relate to her in this moment.
Yeah, and I like a lot of people have pointed out that they really enjoy how compassionate Nier is, especially with her being a female main character. A lot of times there's a lot of forced badassery in female main characters where they're just kind of assholes instead of actually just like being strong, and they don't really show a lot of like empathy or compassion towards people. So I really like when people read stuff like that. A lot of people told me, at least in this scene, that they really enjoy how compassionate Nier is and how much she wants to help, but she can't, because she knows if she doesn't have Cloud, her and Lork probably are not going to survive whatever the heck the trials of blood are. So she kind of is forced into following him, even though she definitely disagrees with him and calls him heartless for it, which I don't really blame her for doing. He just walks away.
Yeah, you have two bad decisions and you have to choose between one of them. It still sucks.
Right.
Yeah.
Another thing that I kind of picked out was just the whole Nier having the ability to translate. Or not translate. Well, translate, yes, but essentially being able to have a conversation with Cloud in his native tongue. And in the previous chapters, one of them, Nier had her fingers on Cloud's forehead in order to translate. And I'm just assuming she just needed some kind of touch. And I don't get the sense I don't know.
That she has to do that every time.
That she has to do that every time, but it's maybe one of those things where like we're not being told she's doing. And I'm curious if she just needed it to happen that once in order for her to just have the library of his language in her head, and from that moment forward she could speak his language, or if she has to be touching him in some way, shape, or form, and that's not being described to us because that's not really relevant to moving the story forward. I guess I'm just curious about that.
No, it's just the one time. And in the cave that they went into when she went to the library, she did that same sort of spell to be able to read the books too, if you remember, because they were written in a different language. So she was able to do it then, and she could keep reading the books. But no, she doesn't have to do it every time she talks to him. It was just the one time. So now she can understand his language basically in full. I do add different Elvish words to the dialogue and to the story. It isn't really necessary, and Nier still doesn't understand some of their language. Like some things that can't be translated, she won't understand what those mean. But I kind of liked having Elvish language because it made it kind of feel more authentic, you know?
Sure.
If Cloud is talking and he says something in Elvish, Nier isn't going to understand it, so it'll be in Elvish, and she'll either just not know what he says, or she'll have to ask him to translate it. So I still wanted that language barrier to still exist a little bit.
Sure. No, appreciate that explanation. Makes sense.
How weird would it be if she, like every time they were talking, she's just standing there with her fingers on his forehead, just like staring intently into his eyes.
That definitely was an image as to why I wrote this comment. Yes.
They're walking through Vlelin and it's all raining, or there's like a bad guy coming and she's like, Cloud,
right.
What do we do?
Yeah, just mean mugging the shit out of him while she's trying to figure out what he says.
And he's just like, stop touching me.
Right, yeah.
No, so now if whatever his language is, she understands it, and she can understand it. If anybody else speaks it, she doesn't have to do it again. She has the language. And it's not really explained why, because what do you guys know about Dad, Ryan? Y'all know anything about him?
Not much.
She was adopted. adopted, and he's lived there for like 75 years.
Okay. I'm pretty sure it's explained that he's an elf.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So I never really explain why she doesn't just do that to him, because obviously he would know like Elven language at some extent, you know. But I mean, I just wanted to show, you know, she didn't really want to learn a language because learning languages is hard. So she kind of, I think it's explained when she first meets Cloud, or the other elf maybe, that she wishes she would have paid more attention. But I guess nobody even really thought of that, so I just brought it up to everybody. That's a plot hole. Oops.
I didn't think of it, so.
Whoopsie.
Oopsie.
Now it's out there.
Out here.
Well, we can have a conversation about the fangirling thing. The only reason I think she's fangirling is because, you know, she pauses to notice his unique features, which long ears, slanted eyes, and a long face. That's where I say fangirling. And Cloud just kind of recognizes that she's just staring at her like a goober, or staring at a goober. So,
well, I just said that because last time, because you were like, she's checking him out again. Whenever they first met, she was checking out the first elf, and then she's checking out this elf, and now she's fangirling him. But no, she thinks he's ugly. That's what you.
He's got a horse face.
Yeah, he's not, and I made art for him, and he's really not that ugly. He's not. I can't make him as ugly as he's supposed to be. He does look like he's going to murder you in your sleep, though. Where is my?
It's comforting.
Art? Here it is.
Yeah, just for sure comforting.
What did I say?
It was comforting.
I have no idea what you guys are saying.
Yeah, I know.
There he is. So, like,
I imagined him to look older.
He
looks like. You ever listen to Motionless in White? He looks like Chris Motionless.
Never heard of it. I am not very cultured. I live in my own little world. Yeah, I couldn't really. I'm not the best at drawing and stuff, and I couldn't make him look as ugly as I wanted him to.
Did you draw that?
Huh?
Did you draw that?
Yeah, me and my cousin did.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's fuck. I can't draw a stick figure. That's really good.
Okay. My cousin really did most of it, but comes from a very artistic family, so I'm really lucky. Like my mom and my cousin are both really, really, really good artists, so that's nice. But no, Cloud is supposed to be unattractive, and that's what I was reading. Because when you said fangirling, I was like, I'm pretty sure she thinks he's ugly. Let me make sure, because I hope that came across well. And now I can't find it, of course.
I mean, you know, as I mentioned earlier, fangirling is definitely exaggeration. It's more meant to be that she was just staring awkwardly at him, at his features, you know, kind of like you would if you were fangirling somebody or fanboying somebody. You're just looking at them, and regardless of your final thoughts on it, you still were just awestruck in some way, whether good or negatively.
Yeah, it said the elves of the forest were said to be beautiful, with smooth skin, long faces, and slanted eyes. Cloud had all of these features, but he was far less than attractive. His ears were too long, his eyes were too narrow, and his skin was sickly white. She contemplated this, comparing him to her father, Ryman, or adopted father, Ryman, who was also an elf. He was handsome, very much so. Cloud is not. Cloud is supposed to be ugly.
Your homework, HC. Look up the band Motionless in White. The lead singer, I think, might be a good representation of Cloud.
Motionless in White?
I'm going to do it.
You don't know Motionless in White, Justin?
Nah.
What the fuck? Jesus.
I'm good.
They've got some good songs. Like Another Life is a really good song.
And he looks like who?
I think that's like the impression I got from the picture you showed me is he reminds me of Cloud, the lead singer.
Okay. If you say so. I can see that.
Like, are you seeing him with his makeup on and stuff?
Yeah, and there's a picture where he's kind of looking off to the side. I can see that. Yeah, I can see that for sure. This guy.
I've seen like things where people say they're like women are jealous of his like eyebrows and shit.
Oh no, he does have nice eyebrows. That's funny.
No, listen to there's a like they did like, I don't want to say it was like a Disney version of, but they did like almost like a classical music version of Another Life, and it's just hauntingly beautiful.
You have to send us a link.
I'll see if I can find it. I can't remember who he did it with, but yeah, they're like a hard rock band, heavy metal band, but they did a different version of that song. It was really good.
Are
And
they
one of their other
screamo?
songs too.
They look screamo,
I mean, you can understand it still at least.
but are they screaming?
I mean, I think there's harder bands out there than them.
You're not answering the question. Do you know who Treyu is?
Yeah.
They scream, so they're not screaming.
I would say they're similar. They're probably similar-ish to Atreyu.
Okay. I like Atreyu. I like their one album.
They sound like a harder Breaking Benjamin.
That's
Did you
what I
just
was
listen
also
to some?
thinking of.
Yeah, so I muted myself. Yeah.
I was thinking of Breaking Benjamin. So, okay, cool beans. I'll take a listen. I like Breaking Benjamin and I like Atreyu, so I'll probably like them.
There you go.
Cool. The other thing that I thought was just like from a visual standpoint, would probably look odd from an outside perspective, but while Nier is leaning up against the barrier, I imagine like from an outside perspective, seeing the scene and her leaning against the barrier, as I'm assuming the barrier isn't actually visible, so it would just look like she's leaning up against nothing.
That's funny.
For whatever reason in my head, that was just a really cool visual to think about.
That's funny. Yeah, I mean, I see it in my head, but there's always like you can still see the barrier in my head. So to take that away, that is really funny. She's just not stepping in nothing. That's funny.
Yeah, I know that there were a bunch of like creatures roaming around in the dark during the scene that I just left out of the summary because it didn't do anything for me really. But that is what kind of got me thinking, like, oh, if these guys are seeing, this group leaning up against this barrier that this group knows about, but is it invisible to people or creatures that exist outside of the barrier, et cetera, et cetera. So it just kind of got me thinking on that rabbit hole.
That's funny. No, what the people inside the barrier are not invisible. So yeah, if anybody's seen them, they would just see them just like leaning up against nothing. They couldn't get to them though.
That's what I thought. Great. I love it.
It's like a bubble hockey table.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Whatever that is.
There's more homework for you, HC.
I mean, you have hockey in Nashville.
So.
You have hockey in Nashville. This is not an unknown thing.
Nah, I'm not a sports person. Clearly, I'm not an anything that you're into person. Oh.
All right.
Eric left the building.
Oh, he's here.
Oh, no, he's done talking to me.
DUN done.
Wow. Okay, well, then I'll move on. So, the Enclave, who had vanished long ago, and in the beginning of the book, when the voice called out to her in the cave, the Enclave cave, is it because Nier is potentially a descendant from the First Blood? Is kind of like where my immediate thoughts go, because she's an adoptee, right? I'm assuming Ryman doesn't really know much of her origin. I'm sure that maybe that will get revealed later as to how he came into adopting Nier. But those are just where my thoughts are going. I don't know about you, Derek.
I like that you said Enclave Cave.
An enclave?
Enclave, yeah.
That's a read and find out situation, but I like where your brain's going.
I kind of figured that was a Raphael moment, but I think that it was interesting and it got me thinking. So
yeah, because you guys have already said before that you think that Nier might be a descendant of the god or a god itself. So now you're thinking that she's a descendant of the First Blood. Maybe she is. Maybe she isn't. We'll just have to figure it out.
Yeah. The only thing that I thought was weird here, and I know that it kind of gets revealed in the next chapter, so we can kind of talk about that then. But outside of that really good chapter, I don't have anything else to comment on. I thought it started out really hot. I like those moments where you can, like when things start off and it's conversational. I don't mind action by any means, but like I really like the really ooey gooey stuff with conversations and texts and character banter and yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah, and I will say that that's one thing that I really wish I would have worked on more in the first two books is having more like cozy character building moments. As I said before, I was kind of led astray a little bit whenever I wrote my book because I was told people don't like that. And since I really didn't have anything to go off of because I don't really read a lot, kind of just went with it. I did update it. So you guys have read the second edition, and it does have a lot more character interaction than it did, but it's still lacking a lot. That's why I'm really excited for book 3 because it really has a really good balance of good character building moments where you have just a couple chapters of just them hanging out or tending to their wounds or just exploring the world, and then you have your tense moments or your dark and your fight scenes, and then it's just a really good balance. And I love in book 3 at least too that there's a lot of side characters. I think we have up to 7 or 8 characters in like the whole group by book 3, and there's a lot of moments where the side characters are interacting and it doesn't really involve the point of view character. I really like that stuff. It just makes the world just feel so much more 3-dimensional when the point of view character really isn't involved, but the world still goes on around them.
Well, and those characters can add to the story in kind of like a side type of way where they bring up an event that isn't related to anything that you're reading, but it actually does. So,
yeah.
So
yeah. Would you have, sorry, Justin, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just going to ask if you were like, so you revised it for the second edition, but if you were just to restart altogether, how would you have done it different?
I would have added, I still think I would start at mid-scene in chapter 1 because I really like how you're just thrust right into it. You know the characters from the beginning, you know what their mission is from the beginning. But I would have probably slowed it down a bit when they were in Vleland. I probably would have added a little bit more time for Gil to heal, not let Nier just use her magic and have him, like, she still would use it because she kind of has to. But just them kind of more in the cave and kind of having a little bit more conversations instead of just one thing after the other, after the other, after the other. Because they don't really sit down and just do nothing. They're always doing something, if that makes sense. Something's always happening. And when I wrote, there's not a whole lot to change so far. I don't think, because there's not really enough moments. I guess maybe whenever they met that first elf, I probably would have had them stay in that village a little longer, maybe had more of the world open up. But I don't know. I mean, sometimes I think about rewriting it again and just doing a third edition, but I'm like, I need to stop. I'm always going to want to change things.
Well, I mean, you could, but I don't have to buy another edition so I can read it and see how it's different from the other ones.
Oh, gosh, I know. So they're saying the same. That I get so insecure about them sometimes, but people really love them. They're like, I don't think that they're badly written. I just know that I could have done a little better with the character interactions at least. But I do get better, and that's really all that matters, I guess. So hopefully people make it to book 3 because book 3 is awesome.
No, by no means is it bad or anything at all. I was just curious. I mean, as you've grown and learned and, what you thought maybe you'd do different if you were to restart, knowing now what you know versus at the time when you started this. So
yeah, well, so far what I would do differently, I think, is I would make the world a little bit more immersive from the beginning to where we are now to chapter 12, because we're really just kind of zeroing in on their path, and we don't like the side characters don't really interact with the world without Nier, they don't really have their own kind of dialogue. They don't do their own things. Like Lorik might pick up a lute or something, but it would have just been cool to kind of have a little bit more, like maybe the city that they were in could have been bigger and they could have explored that. They could have learned more. They could have had more talking to that elf that they don't know, or Cloud could give them more information. They could have stayed in the graveyard longer and maybe, been hunted by a Nyx or something for a little bit, but it never approached them. Just stuff like that could have made it feel a lot better. Lorik can go out to pee and he gets really scared because there's something out there and he runs inside, and just something like that could have made it feel a little more 3-dimensional, I think.
Sure.
He could only pee if there was a deck for him to stand on.
That's right. And there was, because remember, there are stairs on that mausoleum.
Yep.
Right. No, there you go.
Perfect.
No, I feel you. I've been I watched this video on TikTok about some person who did like edits videos for a living, and she was talking about podcasts that have terrible audio quality. And as soon as I heard her say that, I was just like, God damn it. That is totally like our first season, you know. Yes, things got increasingly better, but like it made me think like, oh, should I go back and like re-edit the audio and like remaster them? But that would take
No.
a long time to do because you have to add the effect to each audio clip. And I've already gone through and cut out like the dead air or the potty breaks and all of the stuff that took place to get it to like its final version. And yeah, there's probably at least 250 to 300 edits per episode.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, I wouldn't do that. See, my book one, it needed work because it had 40,000 less words than it does now. Like, there's a lot of side stuff and a whole lot, whenever Avalok comes into the book, of character building and dialogue and all that kind of stuff that was not in the book at first. So it definitely needed a redo. So I'm glad that I did the second edition. It's good the way it is now. I want it to be better. Before it was just kind of okay. Now I think it's good, but I want it to be
good. I guess I don't always feel like just the necessity for more words is necessarily going to make it better. I mean, they got to be the right words, right? I mean, you can't just keep throwing words at things and think it's going to be better just because it's longer.
Oh no, and I don't really pay attention to word count too much. My third book, I thought it was going to be like 200,000 words, and I'm really glad that it's less than 150 because that saves me money. And I don't really like long books. I kind of just want to get to the point. And there's like I don't need all the extra fluff. Like I don't like that stuff.
So what does that translate into pages then? Like 150,000 words is like how many?
It'll be probably like 5 to 550 pages.
Well, that's still a pretty good sized book. That's not a small book by any means.
Oh no, it's not small, but I thought it was going to be huge, and I'm glad it's not. This Curse of the Fallen, I think it's like 400 pages, and it was 120,000 words. And the Forbidden Realms is 450 pages, and it was 140,000, 135,000, something like that. So it's a little bit bigger than Forbidden Realms. Shadows will be. But yeah, I mean, I'm just saying like there was a lot in it. By saying there's 40,000 more words, I'm just saying that there was a lot left out of the original, edition that you guys would completely be missing right now. Like a lot of emotion, like whenever Nier was healing Gil in chapter 2 after his arm was almost ripped off from her teleportation. There was like no emotion at all in the first edition. She literally ran over, put her arms on it, and just healed him, and it was done in like 2 sentences. Now it takes her like 3 paragraphs to do it because I go through her emotions and I show what she's doing and stuff like that.
So it was like the Flex Seal guy in the beginning, just slapping some shit on his arm at first.
Pretty much, yeah. I really just got to the point in the first edition.
Now you're like, but wait, there's more.
Yeah, I don't know how my book was so successful in the beginning because it needed a lot of work. So I'm glad that I fixed it. And I do think it's good. Like I said, there is room for improvement, but I know like I love book 3, but by the time I'm on book 6, I'm going to go back to book 3 and be like, dang, I should have done this different. Or I wish I would have changed this because hopefully I will be even better by then.
Just a random question that popped into my head now. So you just finished the 3rd book. Like what kind of break, or I guess when do you anticipate starting the 4th book then?
I've already started.
Or have you not even really thought that?
Oh no, I've already started. I'm talking to my like writing partner, if you want to call her that. Her name is Anne. I've already been talking to her about the plot of book 4 because I have the plot, but now I'm trying to like figure out the tiny little details and stuff. But I'm probably gonna take a little bit of a break, probably like a month or 2, and just kind of see.
Well, I mean, that's fair. I mean, you put a lot of work into it. I mean, you're gonna get. I would think you'd probably get burnt out if you just went from one right into the other. You got to give yourself a little bit of a rest.
Oh yeah, and I mean, I didn't write don't write my books all in just like I go up and down. So I'll write it for like 3 months straight, and then I won't write it for like 3 months straight, and then I'll write it for 3 months, and then I won't write it for a month. So it's not like I've been writing it every day since, I published the second book. There was a good 4 or 5 months where I didn't even touch this book. So it all just kind of depends on how I feel.
That's fair.
If I'm not in the mood, you can definitely tell the writing suffers. I have to really be invested in the story and really just kind of be inspired to write it. Because if it doesn't just flow, you can tell it's forced. And I can't deal with that. I'm not forcing anything. I'm not rewriting nothing. I'm too lazy for that. Let's just be honest.
I guess kind of my last thought on this chapter was I really liked the visual that I got of Cloud, like using his spear and trying to bust through this barrier. Like, to me, it just felt like a guy ice fishing trying to chop through the ice, and he just can't.
Oh yeah, when he's like on the. Yeah. I thought you meant like the barrier shield that they were in. I was like, once you do that. Yeah.
Oh, no. When he's standing, like, I imagine he's like waist deep in the water, and he's just like, shake weighting his spear trying to get it through this barrier. Look, I brought it back. One more time. I got to go for the hat trick here now. I got to see if I can do it.
That's funny. I'll show you guys what his clothes look like in my head.
Oh, let me get my camera up here so I can see you guys. Okay.
I have to send you a link because I don't have it printed out.
Oh, okay.
It's from The Witcher. If anybody wants to look it up, you can. His robes are definitely 100% inspired by Avalok from The Witcher 3. I'll send you guys a picture. I just think his clothes...
Is this going to be like in the chat? Is that where you're going to send it?
I will send it to you on Twitter, I guess.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, anybody listening, you can just look up Avalok. It's Avallach from The Witcher. That is what Cloud's clothes look like to me. 100% took that from them.
Oh, you sent that fast.
But I absolutely love his outfit. I love Avalok's outfit. And yes, I definitely love his name. That's why I stole it.
It's a little different than I imagined. Like this, I don't know about you, Justin. I feel like it's an Assassin's Creed kind of feel.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
I guess myself, I kind of envisioned a little bit more flowy, but that was just me.
I mean, this is just like the inspiration-y sort of thing. It doesn't look exactly like this, but because Clouds is also explained that he's like a sash kind of going around, so it doesn't look exactly like this. But that's kind of the vision I had when I was like creating his character were robes that were sort of like this, just kind of layered with the belt and stuff like that. He doesn't have a hood though. He did when they first met, but he don't need that no more.
That's cool. I like that.
Just a little visual there for you.
Well, what do you say? Should we move on to the last chapter here?
Fine.
That was a good discussion. That was a lot of fun.
Yes, it was. Good times.
I'm having a good time. Sorry I'm talking so much.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine.
I mean, that's kind of the reason we do this with you, right? Is so you can talk.
I know.
We want you to sit here and be quiet.
I know. I just kind of ramble sometimes. You guys can just be like...
Touch your forehead with 2 fingers.
Yeah, that could be the signal. Like, just kind of be like this one.
Funny.
Well, this is the content I'm here for, so I like hearing you talk.
Yeah.
Good. I like to hear myself talk, so that works.
Perfect. It's a good thing you found your way onto a podcast, then.
I know. I need to just create my own. I just can always just talk to myself about my book.
But now other people can hear it too.
To come over to my channel.
Chapter 12 is called A Fisherman's Tale. I'm just going to segue right there. HC, I always enjoy it when you read the epigraph. Would you like to do that again?
Sure.
Since Justin doesn't gift you that opportunity.
That's because you take them all in the other podcast.
Well, we're going to be switching things back up again here.
Yeah, that's fair.
Which is going to feel weird.
Even if, how you feel about summarizing shit that I typed. Because I fucked up.
I just left it alone. I'm like, God damn, he did a whole bunch.
Are you ready?
Yep.
I'm ready.
Okay. Chapter 12, A Fisherman's Tales. The long and winding corridors stretch from border to border, crawling beneath the entirety of the continent, brimming with magic just beneath our feet. The secrets of Anaimaril, Avish tomes.
Yeah, I was kind of like, geez, there's just a cave system beneath this continent just going everywhere.
It expands the entire continent underground.
And then I just think of, Justin, you like the movie The Descent, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I have heard of that one.
that's where my brain goes. Is just there's just fucking like creepy crawly things under there.
That's funny. You'll see why.
Oh, great, wonderful. All right. Near sat with the others at a table in the fisherman's shack. Creaking wood was the only sound heard over the wind blowing outside.
What do we do now? Is there another way to get inside?
Cloud leaned forward, sighed, and finger combed his hair away from his face.
No, the barrier is too powerful. The first blood must have sealed it before they vanished. But I believe I know another way. It'll take longer, which is unfortunate, as time is crucial in keeping Azale alive.
Azale?
She's someone I care for deeply. She is very important. Losing her would be a great tragedy.
Why has someone cursed her?
Cloud looked into the fire, and a look of longing grew on his face. Without blinking, his gaze shifted to the floor, and he fell into a sad trance. Lork kept playing his lute while he watched the other two. He was never sure what they were saying as they spoke softly and quickly. He was distracted and plucked a wrong note, awakening Cloud from his thoughts. Cloud straightened up, looking into the fire.
What of you? Why have you been cursed?
I'm a sorceress. The only sorceress. That makes me a threat to the Order of Sorrow.
The Order of Sorrow?
There are leaders. The High Priest supersedes all other priests or high-ranking officials. He's the closest to the divines anyone can ever be.
Divines?
Near couldn't find a fitting way to describe the divines to Cloud, and gave up.
The Order imprisoned me when I was a child. The curse was placed in the event that I escaped so they could find me. I suppose they figured I'd be too daft to realize that any time I used my magic, they'd come crawling about. I don't know why they didn't just kill me like all the others. It would have saved me a lifetime of trouble.
Must be a terrible fate to have to hide who you are, or risk certain death.
That's why I'm risking everything to cure it. I don't even remember what it's like to be normal, to not have this pain built up inside of me.
It's like being underwater for a second too long, and finding the surface an inch out of reach.
Near had never had anyone understand her like this before. She had turned away and rested her chin on her knees. Lork stomped in, freeing himself from fish guts he had somehow entangled himself in. What? What else am I supposed to do while you two are off making friends and getting all googly-eyed?
Not getting your foot stuck in a jar of entrails would be a start.
Lork made a sarcastic expression and sat down.
So, about this other entrance you mentioned?
It's the back entrance of the cave system leading to Namashel. I'm certain this is where the trials will begin, seeing as they've sealed the cave as a diversion to any wanderers.
A diversion?
This sealed cave is the only entrance mentioned in any of their texts, but I know a scholar who studies the First Blood, and he discovered there is a back entrance. Only those worthy enough to knowing its location shall open its doors and enter the trials.
Where is it?
Do you have a map?
I do, actually.
She dug through her things and found the map at the library in the caves. Cloud unfolded it, revealing the eastern border of Laroth, Skye, Lynn, and Vleland. He pointed to the border of Leland and Lynn.
We're here. The cave moves beneath the marshes and under the mountains, coming out here in Havsgard.
I know that place. My father went there for work once. Said they're a right old bunch of brutes. Them coal miners once when I was 11? Or was it 12? No, wait. It was the coal miners. It wasn't the coal miners, but them diamond diggers. No, wait, it were.
How in the world are you a famed storyteller?
How dare you?
So the entrance is in Havsgard.
Yes, but it'll be tricky and hard to find.
Near translated all this to Lork. Yeah, I'd never heard of no cave system being in the mines. Surely someone would have found it by now.
We'll need an object called Revelor. It's an object meant for seeing things which can't be seen.
Near's eyes went wide as she knew what he was talking about. She had borrowed the object from Ryman's desk multiple times when he wasn't looking. It was a clear stone artifact that allowed you to see magically altered objects as you looked through it. Ryman and other warriors used them to unveil illusions, while Near and her friends would use it when they snuck out to look for the Wraith's den. They never found one, but it didn't stop them from trying.
A glass eye. Ryman has one of those. We can get it from his office back home.
So what? We go home, grab the glass eye, go to Asgard, and enter the cave?
That's right. We just need to find a way. We just need to wait for the storm to pass.
The wind continued to sing through the walls. Nier tapped the table and looked around the room. Looking out the window, she could see the storm raging and knew they wouldn't be able to leave. Impatiently, she wandered around the small shack. The walls were unsealed, allowing the wind and rain through. There were fishing poles, nets, cauldrons, and boxes strewn haphazardly across the floor. She wasn't looking for anything in particular, just killing time. Nier opened the top door to address her and heard a hiss from a large snake. She quickly shut the drawer. Lorik asked her what it was and rasped her a little bit. You go up against giant spiders, but can't handle a little snake? Honestly, Neri, get yourself together. She ignored him and opened the next drawer and found some old clothes folded neatly. She found a coin purse in the back corner and dumped its contents into her hand. Spilling into her hand and onto the floor were fish hooks. What are you looking for?
Anything? Maybe we can find something useful while we wait.
This is a forgotten shack. How would he find our fish guts and the stench of death? May as well just sit down and relax like the rest of us. Right, Cloud? Are you sure that's his name? It's a bit odd, Cloud.
I'm sure, Lorik.
She kept searching and found a notebook hidden beneath a pillow. Flipping through it, she found an entry and read it. Gods be good. They've taken everything from me. My home, my girls, even my blasted dog. All for what? Because I choose to stay on the border in my family's land? The Six would never treat a man this cruelly. What have I done to deserve such disgrace? She skimmed a few more paragraphs and started reading again. The child had better pay for this, for taking my family from me, for bringing the pale-faced demons into our lands and causing such strife with the divines. This is my punishment for forsaking the order and choosing to stay in Lynn when I should have fled. The damned elf leading them rebels, no one is safe. The words weighed heavy on her mind as she knew the child was short for Child of Sky, the name given to her by the Order of Sorrow. It was used to make her less human. Whoever wrote this believed she had led the elves into their land and killed their family. She broke into a cold sweat and her heart raced. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The words she had read were the only thing in her mind. Surely this man must have been deranged, his mind twisted from being in exile. Nier never let outsiders into their land, and certainly never massacred anyone. She jolted out of her trance when Lorik spoke to her, quickly closing the book.
What?
I asked what you're reading.
I think the man staying here was fleeing from Lynn.
Why?
Because he believes I brought the elves into our land.
What? Why would...
I don't know.
There are no elves in Lynn. None except Ryman.
He was living in this shack because they destroyed his home, Lorik. You don't forget the faces of the people that killed your family.
7 elves? What do you know? What are your own people coming into our land? Cloud didn't move as Lorik stood over the table. Nier guided him back to his seat with her hands on his shoulders.
Calm down. Let me talk to him.
You're too nice, Nier. If he knows something, we need to find out. We can't be running around with the enemy like... She was frustrated and knew he was right, but refused to see Cloud as anything other than an ally. At least, for now.
Why are your people invading our country?
They're invading?
Yes. Why?
I don't know.
Are you sure?
Their eyes met, and she could tell his answer was sincere as there was fear across his face.
If they're invading, then it's already too late. The cycle has begun.
Cycle? What are you talking about?
We cannot waste any more time. We must leave before it gets worse.
Hang on. We aren't going anywhere until you tell us what the hell is going on.
She got up and attempted to block his exit to the door, but was caught off guard as he disappeared. She grabbed her things with Lorik, and they chased after him.
Yay! Beautiful. So I want to note really quick before we get into it, because I know I'm going to forget. What I was talking to you guys about with the first edition and the second edition, how I added a lot. I'm going to highlight, let me see, where this chapter ended before I did this right here. So whenever Nier says, all we have to do is wait for the storm to pass, and then we'll go to will go home and get the glass eye. That is where this chapter ended before. Everything else after that did not exist. The note, the notebook, her looking around, Cloud talking about the cycle, none of that was in the book at all. That's only
Wow,
that was updated.
you
Yeah.
added quite a bit then. And obviously, like, I mean, what I wrote isn't every word that you put into the book. Yeah, that's pretty significant.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's what I mean. Like, that's why I'm like, there's 40,000 words, but as you can see, all of my words matter. So, like, it's no fluff. Like, it's a bunch of stuff that was needed. Like, full scenes were added.
I would like you to know that when you're describing this cabin, it really hit home to me because, so like my family has a cabin in northern Minnesota that's like an hour-ish or so south of International Falls, which is the Canadian border. And our cabin wasn't quite this bad, but one of my uncles called it the Rat Shit Hotel. Because it was a 2-room basically shanty. Like as a kid we would go there and there was like a set of bunk beds and then some cots, and there is an old wood burning stove that is now in my parents' driveway. But yeah, it was a dump because it was built in like the 50s or 60s, and so I mean we built a new cabin in like 2000, somewhere around there. Yeah, it reminded me a lot of that, and so I could really just see it just from like my own personal experience, and I enjoyed that a lot. Another kind of random fact, so like our cabin where it is, it's only a few miles away from a bear refuge in northern Minnesota. Never seen a bear, never seen a wolf, never seen a cougar. I have relatives that deer hunt up there, so they've shot deer up there, but I've walked around these woods since I was like 7 years old, with a BB gun. Never seen anything. And my dad or my uncles always told me, if you're sleeping and a bear comes to the door, all you got to do is stick your hand down its throat and grab its by the tail and pull it inside out.
Oh, yeah, that worked.
Right. Clearly that will solve all the problems.
It'll end your misery, at least.
Yeah. So just kind of a fun little story there, but that was really the vibe that I got from this cabin that you wrote about. It like it really felt like it was the cabin like that I would go to as a kid, and the one
That's
we have
really
now
cool.
is nicer. I mean, it's like basically like the size of a 2-stall car garage.
Oh, wow.
But there's like we don't have electricity. We have a generator, so we can have electricity. There's not running water.
Oh, my God. It's like the shack from Breaking Bad.
yeah.
I don't remember that. Yeah, you can't drive a car there. You can get a 4-wheeler in there, but otherwise it's a 2-mile walk through the woods or a boat ride there. So it's pretty remote.
Oh, that's pretty cool. That's really cool that you kind of like could connect that to one of your childhood memories. That's really neat. I like that.
Yeah, I obviously like you never would have expected that when you wrote it, but like anybody who's reading your books is probably going to make some sort of a connection somewhere along the way, and that was the one that really struck home for me so far in this book. So I enjoyed that.
That's really, really cool. Plot twist. I already knew that, and that's the reason I added it to the book.
Yeah, clearly, like I just wrote you a letter and told you all this, right?
That's funny. No, that's really, really cool. I really like that. Now, next time I read it, I'm gonna be picturing that remote with the the bunk beds. I can't think of what it was called. The bunk beds and the generator. I'm gonna picture the stove in your parents' driveway though. Every time I picture it, it's just in a driveway.
I'll take a picture of it sometime. But yeah, like we'd go up there in like the fall for like duck hunting, and sometimes it'd be snowing and stuff, and like that was the source of heat. And if the fire went out, it got cold.
Oh, that sucks. So you guys are like north, so it's really cold.
Yeah, I love it up there. I haven't been up there in a while. My parents actually just came back from there today. But next time I'm up there, I'll take some pictures and show them to you. It really is a special place. It's like I said, it's not far from a bear refuge, but yeah, I've never seen a bear there or really anything. We've got 17 acres of property.
Wow, that's awesome. Dang. I wish.
Yeah. You want to get away, like you can get away up there.
That's really cool. I like that. I'm glad you said that or shared that story. That's really cool.
Yeah. I remember as I was summarizing this chapter, I really felt like I was on a roll because like a lot of times I don't have a lot of like comments on the side, like for thoughts and stuff. This time I had quite a few, I thought, but I guess going down the list here where Nir's asking about Azael, I guess I couldn't remember if it was Nir or Lork asking, but I took it that Nir was asking. And he didn't say anything at that point in the dialogue, so I assume that must be correct. But I thought Claude read the letter before, where he's talking about the ingredients and stuff. And I thought her name came up. So I thought Nir had heard her name before.
It did, but she doesn't know who she is. So that was kind of her asking, like, Azael, like, who is this? Because then he goes on to explain kind of who she is.
Okay.
So,
That's
adding in more about, like, her thoughts and why she's asking probably would have been a better idea. But that's kind of what she was doing. She's like, Azael, like, we never really talked about this, but who is that? Is kind of how she meant that.
Which kind of leads into my next point, where Cloud says she's someone that he cares deeply for. She's important, and losing her would be a great tragedy. And so it really made me wonder, like, who is this? And I kind of suspect it's a read and find out type situation for us.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to guess it's his daughter. Just no explanation. That's just my guess. Not going to take a pie for it, but yeah.
Part of me really kind of thought like what if it was Nir somehow?
Is she Azael?
Yeah, like it crossed my mind, and I don't really think it is, but like, then why wouldn't Cloud recognize her? But if he hadn't seen her in a long time or something, she was separated at birth. I don't know.
Well, the letter that Azael wrote said that she's cursed and is dying.
Well, we know that Nir's also cursed. I guess she's not actively dying, but
well, we're all actively dying in some way, right?
That's fair. Yes, like the longest thing we'll ever do. Yeah, every second we're a little closer to death. I don't know. Like there was a part of me that like, God, like, what if it was somehow her? I don't know. But then I also thought like, well, then why the hell wouldn't she remember writing this letter? And why, like,
there are some theories that we should probably just keep in our heads.
Oh, okay. All right.
I think that was her way of telling him shut up.
I'm just kidding. No, Azael is a different person. She's not Nir. There are two. I liked the idea of having two separate characters that are on the same, like their plot is the same. So they kind of come together to reach the same goal for different reasons. So that's what Cloud is. He's very important to his own story, and it eventually winds up weaving with Nir's, but they're just on their own mission. So Azael is not Nir. She is a completely different person.
Gotcha. They just felt closely tied together, and it's probably just like you said then. I mean, two sets of people with a similar goal.
Yeah. And eventually you learn who she is in book 3. And you find out.
Jesus, we got a ways to go then. Great.
And you find out just how important her journey is. So what Cloud is doing 100% matters to the grander picture, like for the series. It's not just some random dude saving some random girl. Like there's actually meaning behind it. But he is on his own mission to get to the trials, and Nir also on her own mission, and they're just working together.
Okay.
You'll see. It'll all come together.
Maybe Nir and Azael here are divines that have fallen, and that's why they're cursed.
Maybe Cloud is actually Ryman, and Nir is actually Azael, but neither one of them remember each other because they've all just been cursed.
Right.
So they all have to go to Trials of Blood.
Yeah, they're all quick Ben.
I was going to say the other line I really liked, I don't know where the heck things broke off, what happened, but where Cloud says it's like being underwater for a second too long and finding the surface is an inch out of reach. I really liked that line. I thought it was great. Because it's just like, can you imagine like being underwater, drowning, trying to get to the surface, and you're right there, and you just can't hold on for a second. You're literally an inch away from the surface, just like that amount of desperateness. I don't know if that's a word.
Yeah, desperation.
Desperation. HC, I loved that line. It was so good. I loved it. Just loved it. I want to tell you that.
Thank you. It actually took me a really long time to come up with that because I wanted to try to really explain the pain that Near is in, having to hold all of her energy inside, and for you to kind of like feel that, like you said, the drowning, and you can see the end, and you're right at the end, but you're too weak and it's too far away, even if it's just like an inch away, and you can feel the surface, but you can't make it to it, and you're
Yeah,
just
like your hands out of the water. You're like you're right there. I don't know. It really struck home. It was a 10 for me. It was great. It was a great line.
Yay, thank you. It took me a while to come up with this. I'm glad it resonated with you.
It like maybe it's kind of dark, I guess, but no, it really did.
Yeah, no, it was a good line. It was a good line.
I can come up with them sometimes.
It was deep.
It was.
They took a while, but
also where Near says that's why she's risking everything to cure it. She doesn't even remember what it's like to be normal, to not have this pain built up inside of me. Really reminded me of Lord of the Rings, where Gandalf tells Frodo, he gives a speech about so do all who live to see such times. That speech, where Frodo doesn't want the ring and all that stuff. Like that was the vibe. For whatever reason, when I read that, that's what I thought of.
That's funny. I don't even know what you're talking about. So, but people do compare my book to Tolkien a lot, so that's pretty cool. I'll take it. I don't know if I agree.
It's pretty good pretty good company, I would say.
Yeah.
The one thing that kind of, I don't know if it confuses me, but Cloud says there's another entrance to the cave leading to Namashell. So I keep thinking, like, are they just going to do the trials in reverse? Like they're just going to progressively get easier instead of harder? Like, since they're going to, like, is it just like is it truly a secret entrance, or are they going to be at like the exit? Like
Okay, so,
where they're going in is not the exit?
So I can see how that would be confusing. It's the back entrance to the cave system that leads to Namashell. So this was another entrance, and it was a way to get to Namashell, but the way where it is sealed does not contain the trials of blood. And if you're wanting to find it, like I think he explains, like you kind of have to be worthy or something like that. So you really need to know where to go. So this entrance, before it was sealed off, back when the First Blood or Enclave were still around, before they just vanished, that was an entrance that you could get into. I mean, I don't really have a lot of lore on it. Like, I don't know if that also contains its own trial or if it just takes you right to Namashell. I don't know. But it's a diversion. So people that get there, it's either always been sealed or doesn't lead to where it's supposed to go. So that's why they have like the hidden entrance, where if you want to take these trials, you're going to have to know where it's located to actually take it to get to Namashell, if that makes sense. I don't even know if that makes any sense. I'm rambling again.
So that's actually what had me confused at the end of the last chapter. And that's great. That's a good explanation. And I guess now it kind of seems like there's two little side quests happening here where Cloud has to go and get information from the scholar on where to go exactly. And then Near and Lorik have to go travel back to home and grab the glass eye.
No, Cloud already knows where the entrance is.
Oh, because of the scholar. Gotcha.
Yes. And a little fun fact. I don't know if the scholar's name was mentioned,
No.
but his name is Talon, and you will meet him in book 2.
Talon? You really should read Malazan HC, because I can see a lot of parallels. I can see a lot of parallels between this book and Gardens of the Moon. I don't know how you feel, Justin. But then, I can, with Near specifically, I can see similarities to Felicin. I want to say Felicin so bad because I just like that better. And I guess Near's so far, I would say Near's backstory or history is not quite as gruesome or rough as Felicin's, but there's a lot of parallels there, and it's weird like to me how similar they feel to each other, and you haven't read it.
I have Gardens of the Moon. I got it from Goodwill like 6 years ago, and I'm using it as a stand for my laptop right now.
You know what the other thing is that I keep thinking about, Justin?
I'll take it down.
In HC, this is not like a shot at you, but I remember you saying that like you don't really read, right? And then we talked to Steven Erickson, and it just blew his mind that there's like people writing books that like they don't read other books, and he's like, you got to read everything you can, just like whatever it is, just read it. Doesn't matter, just read it. And you're like, fuck it, I don't really read other books.
I try. I just can't get into them. I don't have to read books to be a good storyteller. Like you don't. That's not a requirement.
No,
I think more what Erickson was trying to say is that like you don't necessarily have to read to be a writer, but more or less kind of like when you're drawing, you observe different artists and their drawing styles, and you kind of make an amalgamation of what you've seen and what you've learned, and you kind of like incorporate those things into your artwork. I think is the point that he was trying to make, is that you know, whether you're a fan of reading or not, you know, you may just read something that like, oh my God, this gives me some inspiration in some way, shape, or form, and you know, it's all from there, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I agree and disagree with that in a way. I do think that you should read something, at least things in your genre. For me, especially because I would have written my third book a lot, or my first book a lot differently if I would have known how to balance out the action and the filler and things like that. But also, there's plenty of stories to be told that aren't in books. You know, there's games and movies and shows that you can kind of also learn from. So,
oh yeah, for sure.
I do think reading is important to writing. I don't think that it's essential. And everybody always says you can't be a good writer if you don't read, and I don't really agree with that. I think it helps, but it's not necessary. But that's probably because I don't read. Maybe if I read, I won't disagree with myself.
I mean, if
I didn't want you to feel like I was taking a shot at you or anything like that.
Oh no, you're good.
Erickson does such a beautiful job of the non-actiony stuff. Just the character dialogue and like even the side characters that you were talking about earlier coming in and giving in a backstory towards, you know, whatever the goal is that wasn't, you know, he just has this like very beautiful way of telling you without telling you, you know, like in the prologue that we did, there's a character that comes across another character that is being chased by other characters. And the other characters, when they arrive, they kill this character and they realize that someone else was there. But it wasn't like, he didn't write like, oh, they observed footprints in the sand. You know, it was,
it's like you experience it instead of being told that it happened.
Correct.
Yeah, I definitely, the only thing I started to read Gardens of the Moon, I did not get far. I got like not even halfway through the first chapter, which is normal for me. But I've heard it's one of those books where you just are thrown into the story and you just have to figure it out as you go. And I cannot read those. I don't like to not know what's going on. I don't like when characters just show up and you're not introduced to them. You don't know anything about them. You don't know what your relationship, like the main character's relationship is. And you just have to just go with it and figure it out. And I don't like that.
The thing is that he tells you they are, but like they don't get revealed. Things don't kind of come into place until later. Like the very first chapter with one of the characters, like he bluntly tells you what it is that's going to happen to them. You just don't have any context behind it until the event actually happens. So,
okay. Have you heard The Witcher by chance? Have either one of you guys read it?
I've heard it's really good, and like I've thought about picking it up, but it's one of those things where like I'm reading this book and I'm reading the Malzahn books, but like on the side I'm reading the Redwall books because I don't have to stop and I can just read them. So being that I never finished the series because I was a teenager when he was writing them, and yes, they're YA, but they're really easy, they're digestible, and they're just fun things to read. So I plan on getting through that whole series, or not series, but all of those books that he wrote before I move on to other books. Like I want to read The Priory of the Orange Tree, some M.K. Nemesson, The Bone Shard Daughter, Black Sun, all these different books. So, but yeah, eventually, eventually I'll get to other books that I want to read.
That's funny. Well, I tried reading Witcher, and it's one of those where you're just thrown into it and characters are just mentioned and things are just happening and you're going to different kingdoms and different, like, nothing's explained. Like he'll be talking to somebody and he'll just go up to him and just start talking and they'll just have a conversation that is kind of like a continuation of a conversation they had before the book started. And I'm like, who is this? Like, I don't even know who you're talking to. So that's why I was asking, because like, if it's like The Witcher in that way, I would not be able to follow it. I need to read more books in order to like up my skill level to that type of, because I cannot do it. I like to know everything as I read it.
It's one of those things where like you have to trust. Like, sorry, Derek, I keep cutting you off. It's
You're
one of
good,
those
man.
things where like you just have to trust that the information will come. And honestly, in my opinion, it makes it so much more worthwhile because it's like a puzzle. And eventually, yes, you're only given pieces of it, but at the end, the puzzle is 90% complete. There's definitely still some gaps that are probably intended for later on in the series, but it's just the way that those pieces are described give clues and hints to things, and it's just great to see it all come into fruition.
Yeah, I can't do that. Even when I watch movies that are like thriller or whatever, or not thriller, but like you don't really know and you're trying to figure out who is doing what and why they're doing it. I get so impatient. I can't handle it. And even it's only an hour and a half. If I had to read a book for like a week and I still didn't know what was going on, I'd be going crazy. My brain just don't work that way.
I guess I would add, like, I know Malazan has that reputation of being challenging, and maybe it's just the way that Justin and I have done things a chapter at a time. You know, we've slowed it down a lot. And like with your book, we've slowed it down a lot. You know, we're doing 2 chapters or 1 chapter at a time. Gives us a chance to reread it. But I've never felt like overwhelmed. I've never felt overly confused.
Okay, that's good. I mean, I loved the way that Gardens of the Moon was written. The prose, I loved it. But and it felt like poetic or something. I don't know. Just the way he wrote was really nice. But I just didn't get too far into it. But that's just me.
I do happen to know a podcast that might have a few episodes on the subject. If you're curious.
Maybe. Perhaps.
But no, it's like I said, it's to me it almost feels eerie how similar things feel to me.
Yeah.
You know, when I think about reading Gardens of the Moon, Dead House Gates, and then, you know, we're almost a halfway through your book, and it makes me feel a lot of the same things that I felt reading those other 2 books.
I mean, that's kind of cool because Steven Erickson's like way up there. So if my book makes you think of his book, then I'm not doing that bad of a job, I guess.
No, you're doing a really good job, and it really makes it does make me think of.
It's pretty cool.
I don't want to say like I'm not comparing your book to his because obviously they're different books, but
it
does make me think of those elements from one to the other.
That's really cool. Well, I'm definitely gonna have to read it once I finish book 3. I've already committed that I'm gonna try to read way more books after I finish my book because I need to read more, especially indie books. A lot of people support me, and I have not read their books yet because I just cannot sit down and read them. I can't. I DNF every book I ever start. It's so annoying. I need to just read. Can't do it though. I'm not a reader.
Well, it's like Justin said. I mean, yeah, we're both reading 3 different books. Now we're reading Memories of Ice. We're reading your book. He's reading Redwall, and I just finished reading This Is How You Lose the Time War, and I'm going to move on to a pretty grimdark book next. But yeah, it's just there's a lot of books to read, and it's hard to pick what you want to read next. And it sucks kind of knowing that like there's more books to read than you're ever going to read before you die.
Yeah. It's funny.
Anyways, that was a pretty good tangent, a fairly long tangent there.
Hey, I'll take the compliment.
It's certainly like I hope you feel like it's a compliment because I really mean it as one.
No, that's definitely a compliment. I'll take it. Saying that my books make you think of somebody else's, like Steven Erickson, I'll take that.
Yeah, I don't know how Justin feels, but that's certainly how it made me feel. And I mean that. I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass or something like that.
Sorry.
I
Even
do
if you
feel
are,
that way.
I take it.
I guess getting back on track then. Cloud's talking about the back entrance to the cave, and only those worthy enough to notice the location will be able to open its doors. And then Nier just asks, like, where is it? And Cloud's just like, oh, do you have a map? And he's like, Nier's like, yeah, I do. And Cloud's just like, oh, X marks the spot. And it's like, well, that's not exactly proving you're worthy of it.
That's funny. Well, really, the only one that's worthy is a scholar because he's the one that knows. So Cloud wouldn't even know.
I think that Cloud has some empathy for Nier in this particular moment, and I think that's why he's just so willing to divulge information because Nier is being honest with him, and I think that he's kind of sensing the genuine nature of Nier and what she says, and doesn't really speculate on it too much. But I also get the feeling that Cloud maybe doesn't have very many negative human reaction or like interactions because he doesn't seem as timid as the other elf did.
Yeah. Or I mean it could just be that other elf has just been through way worse stuff. Yeah.
Cloud doesn't have the same trauma, so to speak.
Yeah. Or I mean, yeah, just that could be it. Obviously, or you'd find out. That's definitely something that would be something you'd find out later. But I mean, yeah, they're just different people, and maybe he has had trauma, but he still is understanding. Like people are different. Not everybody's evil.
Sure.
Or maybe he just has never met a human before, so he's like, she's fine to me. I need her to survive, so I guess we're just gonna travel together.
I find it interesting though, and you know, I brought it up a little bit earlier. But I think it's interesting that they're all willing to just journey back home. And I'm curious as to see how that would unfold if that is the journey. Because I feel like they were doing everything that they could to avoid that route. And now it seems like they have to go that route to get this glass eye thing.
I understand you, Justin, and HC. Like this makes me feel a little frustrated because they're like, chugging along. Time to backtrack back to home to go get this fucking thing so we can look around through its magic eye. I'm like, oh man, like we made all this progress, now we got to backtrack.
Well, it's not really backtracking because home is on the way to where they have to go.
Oh, okay.
They're not coming back to this place.
I guess I didn't realize it was on the way then. So that's different, but I was like, well, like that's kind of got to suck.
Take out the map, shall we?
I really like your colored map.
It is a colored map. So we start here, down in Vleland. Yeah. All right. Now this is Lynn, all this little area here. Okay. That's where Porsder is, which is where her home is. And this is where they have to go to Havsgard. And this is where they are now. So it's on the way.
Pretty much spit from home and make it there.
Pretty much. Yeah, it's on the way. Okay. Because they're not at the back entrance. And remember, I mean, even Lorik was like, oh, yeah, I know that place. Like, my dad's talked about it. Like, I've been there before, sort of thing. So it's not in Vleland. They don't have to come back to this location. And, I mean, the only reason that they weren't really avoiding home. Like, Nier wasn't avoiding going home. She knew that the Arun, with its magical whatever, the enchantment, you know, the mark thing that's blocking it, protecting it, she knew that was kind of advanced and she doesn't really know what to do. So whenever she got to the cave and it said you can dispel it, but these are the only ways, she was like, well, I know Ryman isn't going to be able to dispel this. I'm pretty sure the scholars can't do it, so something led me here, something told me to go to the Trials of Blood, so that's what I'm going to do. So it wasn't really avoiding home. She just feels like fate is kind of calling her to the Trials of Blood.
Gotcha. No, that makes more sense. Okay, cool.
See, those are things I would fix if I could redo it. Kind of just taking time to really dive into her thoughts and emotions and really kind of explain a little bit more in the exposition instead of kind of leaving it so open-ended. And I did leave it open-ended on purpose. I just wish I would have changed it and added just a little bit more. Like whenever she said Azale, it would have been nice to be like, explain, well, she's heard this name before, but she doesn't know who it is and thought maybe now she should find out. Just kind of clear up. Make sure we're all on the same page.
Makes sense.
But yeah, Havsgard is where they have to go. So really, it's just a little detour home. So don't worry, no frustration. They're not backtracking. Just on a new path.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was just like, God damn, like that's gotta be like you gotta do what you gotta do, but like it would probably be annoying to have to like backtrack. Like think about like my daughter like in dance competition, like if we were up in Minneapolis for dance competition and we forgot something back home and I had to like run back home an hour and a half to go get some like tights or whatever, like how fucking annoying is that? You're like, God, I don't want to do this.
So you were thinking that this was the entrance and they would have to go all the way to Porrister and get the glass eye and then come back to where they are now in order to get in to find the entrance with the thing? Is that what you're thinking?
Not necessarily that. I guess I just didn't, in relation to everything else, I didn't know where like this second entrance or the back entrance was.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
So it was kind of like, okay, well, we got to go way over here to the left to go get this eye from the center, and then we got to go all the way back over here to the right so we can use it to get in, where it would just be nice if we could just go to the right and get it.
Yeah.
So it's nice to know it's not like that.
Yeah. It's pretty linear in terms of storytelling, the way that the book is. They start down here and they just go up to their destination.
And I know you've mentioned like on the map you can kind of see their little
path and stuff,
path. And I've looked at the map, but I haven't paid that close attention to it.
Oh yeah, that's fine. And a lot of people don't like that. I didn't realize that. So people are, I don't want to see her path. I don't want to know where she's going. I'm just like, sorry. Because they don't want anything to be spoiled.
I can kind of get that because you're like, oh, okay, well, it's going to progress this way.
Yeah.
And I guess I don't dislike that, and I like looking at maps in books and stuff. I just haven't paid that much attention to that aspect of things.
That's all right. I mean, I can see why you would be like, oh God, but no, it's like I said for 5 times already. Havsgard is next to where their home is, so they're not really. They do have to go a little out of their way, but it's not a huge deal.
Gotcha.
Makes sense.
I think those were all the points I had. Justin, did you have anything?
No, I think we touched a lot on this chapter, and for the most part, it's really conversational, which I really enjoy. Just kind of the character dynamics. But no, I mean, it seems now that we have the clarity, it seems like there's a pretty set goal as to what is next. So I guess I'm looking forward to reading on.
Yay! Oh, I'm still enjoying it. You have to lie and say you are because we're friends.
I'm not lying.
I don't need. Yeah, I don't need to lie. Like I'm having a lot of fun reading this, and just talking to you when we do this enhances it by a million. It's a lot of fun. Justin, do you have any predictions where this is going to go? The next couple chapters?
Well, I mean, I'm assuming they're going to journey towards home. I'm kind of curious between 2 different scenarios. They sneak in trying to get this glass eye, clearly trying to avoid Ryman. But then they maybe get caught, and there's a little bit of like not a confrontation, but like a, hey, what the fuck are you doing? Et cetera, et cetera. Or they sneak in successfully, grab it, and they're out. And then maybe Ryman is like, hey, where's this thing that I put here? And figures it out and maybe trails them in some way, shape, or form, I guess is kind of, where my immediate thoughts are going on to what's happening next.
Ryman isn't an antagonist. So their dad. He's gonna trail them and find. He's gonna take them down
so that I can do something else with it. I don't know. I mean
maybe that could happen. That could be leading.
Justin needs another voice to do here, so.
What was I gonna say? So yeah, okay. So now we know the goal is just to go to Havsgard to get into the actual entrance. They learned about this entrance through a scholar that Cloud knows, who is a scholar of the First Blood. And it is north. It is just a little bit north of Porster, which is her hometown. And in order to see the entrance, which is hidden through the magic of an illusion, they have to get that glass eye. So now they just have to go all the way through her home country where elves are forbidden to find. Also, the elves are invading, and it seems the humans are invading elven territory. So there's like some kind of invasion going on from both ends, as far as we know. And Nier is being blamed for that.
Sounds like it's going to be a mess.
Buckle up. There aren't very many dialogue, sit down moments.
I really felt, though, that these two chapters really, I guess, started to make me feel like not necessarily that the pace was quickening up by any shape of the means, but just like where like it really started to drive home that like this is a thing that she has to do, you know?
Yeah, I can see that. And I mean, they kind of did make it to their destination. It's just it was a decoy. So you know, her purpose is kind of being fulfilled almost, I guess, and you can kind of feel that. Oh, here we go. We're getting to it, sort of thing.
Right. Yeah. So those are my predictions. Whether I'm right or wrong, I don't care. I'll just read and find it.
Yes, you will.
Any glaring omissions that we missed, HC?
I don't think so. Y'all are pretty good about catching things, and I like all of your theories. Some of your theories are better than my theories, as in things that will happen in the book. That's the only thing that sucks about theories is that sometimes people theorize things and it sounds way cooler than what I'm going to do. I'm like, dang. I'm going to change things.
It is fun because I feel like sometimes Justin and I are on like the same wavelength, and then there's times where we're just clearly not.
Yeah.
Which is totally fine. But yeah, I'm really excited to see where this goes in these next couple chapters. Enjoying it immensely. It's a lot of fun.
Yay! I'm glad y'all aren't going to be able to do the Facebook Live or the YouTube Live next week because we're going to be doing chapters 21 to 30, and y'all are still going to be chapter 13.
Yeah, well, it's the tortoise and the hare, right? Like we're going to catch up.
I'll have to do a whole YouTube Live with you guys to help the podcast. I'm forgetting words. I think all of our brains are mush at this point.
Yeah, it's only 8:30.
I know, so old. And my dog keeps whining. She wants to go out, but I'm ignoring her.
Well, I hope some of the people on your YouTube Live, and I hope they check this out.
I keep pushing
just
it
see how
for
much
you guys,
fun.
but
Yeah, clearly, like we're having a lot of fun, so it's got to come across that way. And
I think it'd be fun if the three of us, did some kind of. We don't even have to do like a YouTube Live, but just like a video so people can kind of get, the we don't have to do one of your episodes, but I think it'd be cool just to kind of get on and just talk about the book or whatever, just so people can kind of see how we interact. Maybe that could help bring in viewers too.
I think we'd both be okay with that.
Yeah.
We're pretty open to just about whatever. So
yeah, I think that'd be really fun. Any chance to hang out with y'all is pretty fun, so I'll take it. Y'all are cool, I guess.
Thanks, I guess.
Yeah.
You like my book, so we'll get along.
Yeah, I mean, we both. Justin's bought it twice, so I mean, he likes it enough.
Twice?
Yeah.
He's got the collector's edition, and then he's got a beat up copy.
Oh, I didn't know. You did get the collector's because you got it, and then Derek's didn't show up because someone took it.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, fucking assholes out there! If you're listening and you stole my books, you're jerks.
They really did. They really freaking. Oh god! And then some of these books, whenever they arrived, the whole package was ripped open. Everything was in it. It was perfect, but it was like ripped in half.
Who was that? Was that Bo or was that somebody else? I remember seeing that.
I think it was Quinn. I think his name was Quinn.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's who it was. Yeah, I'm like, what is going
Just
on?
mangled. Yeah.
Yeah, I just got it. It said empty box. I was like, it was not empty when I dropped this off, and the post office didn't do anything, so I put insurance on it. Even though I dropped it off at the store, so the store they're supposed to tape it up. I mean, I taped it, but whatever. The printer sent me 2 copies for free since it, so that was good. So your copies didn't cost me anything, thankfully, because they're
Well,
expensive.
I'm glad for that.
Like I literally break even with the collectors, and it sucks because they're kind of expensive, but like I break even, so they have to be that price. That's the lowest price I can make them. I'm glad.
I mean, I did not have a problem paying what I paid to get them because they're gorgeous. They're really good looking books.
I'll have to raise my prices now you said that.
All I ask is
I'll be the inspiration.
all I ask is that when other limited editions come out, that it's the same number.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's what I'm doing. I have a spreadsheet of everybody's number, and all of your books are all going to be the same number. And I don't even know if people wanted them to be that way, but I didn't like, because some people that bought the first one, they didn't buy the second one. So whoever is just number 1, they're just going to remain number 1 forever. But
even if they didn't buy the second book.
Yeah, some people that bought the first one didn't buy the second one.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I know I'm number 52. I know that much.
But everybody asks me, and that was already my plan, because I don't really know how it works with the collectors. I've never really bought a numbered edition, but it just made sense that all of your numbers would be the same. So even though I didn't really sell like 52 copies of the second book, your book is still number 52 because it just matches. I want you to have like a set, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I will have a set of however many books you write when you're done.
Cool. Yeah. It's going to be a 6-book series, so buckle up, save your money.
Done.
And 3 novellas, so 9 books.
So 9. Cool.
Yeah,
Yep.
that would be cool.
We got The Banished, and then we got Ayla's prequel. Ayla is a secondary main character who's introduced in the second book, and then we'll have Nier's prequel, which I think I already told you guys. So,
Yeah.
yes, 9 books.
Well, cool. I think we could probably segue to saying goodbye.
Au revoir. Until next time. Elviters and goodbye.
Yeah, we've just been hanging out this last like 45 minutes.
Which is fine.
It works.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, this was fun. Thank you all for watching. Go read my book. Bye.
Yes. Like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, y'all.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Yes.
Or just wherever you listen to podcasts, because we're just about it. I think basically everywhere.
I have YouTube too. You can follow me, HC Newell.
Yeah.
I just made it, so I don't have any followers or videos, but you can subscribe.
Do it.
Okay, bye-bye.
Well, enjoy your night. Derek, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Yeah, 5:00. I got to pick up my kid on the way home, so I should be pretty close to 5:00. But I'm gonna go drink more beer tonight.
All right. Have fun.
All right, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for a good time, and we'll talk next time.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
CNJ's Epic Quest, CNJ's Epic Quest, CNJ's Epic Quest, CNJ's Epic Quest, CNJ's Epic Quest.